This is Everybody Pulls the Tarp with your host, Andrew Moses. Each week, Andrew talks with Olympians, pro athletes, TV stars, Grammy winners, best-selling authors, CEOs, and other high performers to uncover their success secrets.
My guest is Washington Commanders running back Austin Ekeler.
Every day we write a page of our life. The best thing is you have the pen in your hand.
Three-time Olympic gold medalist Tessa Virtue. Welcome back to Everybody Pulls the Tarp.
Thanks for thinking of me, and I'm a big fan of the podcast and of yours. So anytime you text or call, I'm here.
Mike Mills from REM.
The key to that was realizing at some point fairly early on that this was probably our life's work.
Every conversation is jam-packed with inspiration and actionable ideas.
My guest is 2023 WNBA Coach of the Year, Stephanie White.
The hardest thing for a coach is trying to prioritize how much time you put in one area or another.
Former MLB player, coach, and manager Clint Hurdle.
That is the best title of any podcast out there in America, and the content matches up to it. Andrew, you do a fantastic job. I'm a big fan. Keep up the great work.
World-renowned organizing expert Shira Gill.
You can improve your life simply by removing things.
Get ready for a behind-the-scenes look at the techniques, processes, and mindsets powering the world's most successful people.
Let's go. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Everybody Pulls the Tarp. This week, my guest is University of Oklahoma gymnast Addison Fatta. Addison is a three-time national team member and an NCAA National Champion. Last year, in 2025, as a freshman, Addison was named an NCAA first-team All-American in the all-around and helped her team win a national championship. During her remarkable freshman season, Addison competed on bars, beam, and floor in every meet and competed in the all-around in 15 of the team's 17 meets. This season, as a sophomore, Addison is at it again, having another extraordinary season. In early February, she scored a perfect 10.0 on vault, and at the time we recorded the conversation you are about to hear, Addison and her team sit atop the collegiate gymnastics ranks at number 1 and have their sights set on taking home another national championship in April at the 2026 NCAA Women's Gymnastics National Championships. In our conversation, Addison shares a behind-the-scenes look at her journey, starting with her first time in a gym at just a few days old, all the way up to today, where she's become one of the most successful athletes in her sport. You'll hear powerful ideas on chasing ambitious goals, developing new skills, balancing joy with intensity, adapting when things don't go as planned, and so much more. And towards the end of our conversation, Addison shared an incredibly candid and vulnerable story about the most difficult phase of her career and what she learned from it. You have got to hear what she said. My friends, the bottom line is this. Once you hear my conversation with Addison, I think you will agree. Her wisdom is well beyond her years, and the ideas that she shares apply far beyond gymnastics. Now, before we get to the conversation with Addison, I want to give a big thanks to past Everybody Pulls the Tarp guest and friend of the show, Jordan Bowers, for connecting Addison and I so we could have this incredible conversation. And one quick programming note. Listeners, this week's episode wraps up season 14, and I'll be back with new interview conversations when we kick off a new season of Everybody Pulls the Tarp on April 30th. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not intended to be a substitute for the advice of a physician, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional. So, let's pull the tarp and get straight to Addison Fatta. First memories of gymnastics. Take me back to that moment.
Well, my parents were actually the owners of my gym back at home. So I was in the gym before I was actually in my house. 2 days old, I was recognized into the gym. And from there on out, I fell in love with the sport.
So you say from there on, right from there, you fell in love with the sport. When was the first time that you realized that you may be a little bit better at this sport than the average person? Like, do you remember that moment?
Yeah, I mean, growing up with all the older girls, I always knew I wanted to go far. I wanted to go into college gymnastics, but I don't think there was ever a specific point where I knew I was good. it took me a while to realize it. It took me a while to really set in stone how far I've come within the sport. I would say 2021 Olympic trials was the year I was like, okay, maybe I do belong here. Like, I do want to go into college. I knew that. But it was really when I found my confidence and found my just overall passion for gymnastics.
That's interesting. So it wasn't necessarily until 2021 when you felt like you had truly discovered that passion that you had for gymnastics?
Okay, not necessarily my passion. I've always been extremely passionate about gymnastics, but it's where I found my set in stone, oh, I'm good to be here. I am good enough to be here. I can compete with these upper level girls. It's where I found like my groove, I guess I should say.
Well said. Well said. Addison, I'm curious. I mean, let's go back to those early days that you described. You mentioned you're like 2 days old and you're already recognized in the gym because your parents are running the gymnastics center. What was that like as you started to get a little bit older and started to have more awareness of your surroundings, and you would see these elite gymnasts around you and you'd see these people working hard to develop their craft? Did you feel at that point like this great sense of, oh my goodness, like there's a high level of expectation for me, or I want to be like these people so badly that I'm going to have to devote so much energy and attention to this? Talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, I don't think there was any outcome that my parents necessarily were looking for. They saw my passion, my drive, and my love for the sport, and they wanted to take me as far as I wanted to go. There was never some extra pressure added to me. And I put extra pressure on myself. I grew up in that gym. I saw these girls training their butts off and making it to the highest level that they possibly could. So I like fed off of them. I trained with Trinity Thomas for a long time, and she was a really good older sister and a really good person to just look up to. She worked so hard, and seeing her success just take off really got under my skin and made me want to work extra, extra hard.
Seeing her success got under your skin and made you want to work extra, extra hard. That's so interesting. That's such an interesting way of putting it, Addison. So once that idea of you finding your own success kind of gets under your skin, right, and it starts to motivate you and say, I'm going to work really hard to do this. What does that look like from that point forward? I mean, take us behind the scenes of what those days looked like when you started to say, I'm going to put a lot of attention and a lot of work into this because it's under my skin, as you mentioned there. Talk about that, Addison.
Yeah, after Olympic trials, again, was the when I realized like, oh, I can do this. I'm good enough to be here. And I actually pushed a little bit too hard and ended up getting an injury in my shin. So there has to be that correct balance. I was like, oh yeah, let's go. Like, let's keep going. I was in the gym. I was training so hard. And then obviously I was training a little bit too hard. So finding that balance is also something that's really important because I was just going at it. I wanted to make the world team after that. And so I would say finding your balance is the most important because you can't push too hard. Your body can't handle all of that. So being able to prioritize recovery and gymnastics is something that's important. And I learned at a pretty young age.
So Addison, you mentioned a few minutes ago this idea that your parents never set a specific goal or a specific outcome for you. But one of the things in preparing for our conversation and trying to learn a little bit more about your career that was, I found really particularly interesting was the idea that for so many years, your parents were your coaches. And I am curious, talk about the dynamics of that, because that could obviously be very, very rewarding. That could also be very, very complicated. Talk about, even though they didn't set specific outcomes or expectations that they had in mind for you, and that was really driven from within by you, talk about those dynamics. How do you and your parents manage that? I think that's an interesting idea to explore.
Yes. They did a really good job at keeping whatever happened in the gym at the gym, whatever happened at home at home. They were my parents at home, my coaches in the gym. They did a really good job at separating that, which I thought was very important and worked out really, really well. It wasn't all about gymnastics all the time. They were just so passionate for what I was doing. I think they were really proud of how hard I worked and how bad I wanted it. And they just wanted the best outcome possible for me. And they did anything and everything for me.
Addison, talk about the decision to go to University of Oklahoma. I mean, obviously a storied, incredible gymnastics program. You won a national championship with the program in your first year as a freshman last year in 2025. Talk about that decision. What went into that? How early on did you know that this was the place I was going to kind of continue my career? Because just moments ago, it was a great segue, because just moments ago, you talked about this incredible dynamic that you built with your parents over so many years of training. How did you identify the next environment that you were going to take your gymnastics career?
In 8th grade, I actually had a call with KJ, and it was right before the rule changed to only be allowed to offer junior year and beyond. I had a call with her in 8th grade, and she offered me a scholarship. And I thought about it for a long time, and I was like, I want to wait until junior year until I can visit all of these schools. Like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, right? I wanted to be able to soak in every moment and every memory that I would make throughout that. So I waited till junior year, and then I got offers from a couple more schools and took 5 visits. Oklahoma was my 4th visit, and as soon as I visited the school, I knew I was coming here. It's a legacy here. The coaching staff is incredible. They've built such an amazing community environment. KJ reminds me a lot of my mom, which was very comforting because, again, I was coached by my parents my entire life. I knew it was going to be a very big step not being coached by my parents. So it was just an incredible moment. And you could tell how bad KJ wanted me and how great that made me feel. She was my first ever recruiting call. She was in the gym the second she was allowed to be because of the rules. She was just very on top of things, and that made me feel really special.
Addison, I am curious. You mentioned there that in KJ, you saw a lot of things that kind of made you think about your mom and reminded you of your mom, which is really, really neat. What about the dynamics now? You said that when you were a kid, even into your teenage years, that your parents did this amazing job of being your parents when you were at home and being your coaches when you were in the gym. What about now when you're competing for the University of Oklahoma? Do they text you thoughts, ideas, perspectives, or do they let KJ handle the business?
They let the coaches handle the business. Right now, they are just my parents. They come to every single gymnastics meet they can. And actually this year, my mom has been to every single one, and she loves it. I think she's, again, just so proud, and just being able to sit there in the stands and watch me, I think creates a really special moment. But yeah, they are 100% my parents now.
Addison, I'm curious, if someone's listening right now and they feel like maybe their parents aren't even their coaches, but they don't feel like there's a great boundary, or there's enough of a boundary between the way their parents are trying to coach and instruct them versus leaving it to their coaches, even if they're just a little leaguer playing baseball or they're competing at the collegiate level. Is there one piece of advice that you would give an elite performer who says, you know what, I want to create a little bit more of a appropriate boundary between what I do in my craft and my parents?
Yeah, I think it's just really important to be supportive of your child, and it's your child's dreams, and you always need to remember that. You want to be there and do everything you can to help your child succeed in those moments. But there's also times where you need to take a little step back and be a parent. Like after a rough day at gym, my parents would always have a conversation with me as my parents rather than my coaches. So I think that's really important to be able to separate the two.
So well said, Addison. I'm curious to get into more of kind of that environment at Oklahoma. So as you know, I've gotten to know Jordan Bowers over the last year and a half or so and have enjoyed watching the program from afar. And what strikes me about the program is not only the success that you all have competitively, but it just looks like you're all super connected and having an enormous amount of fun. And as you're smiling, I feel like you're confirming that that's the case. Take me inside that a little bit. What do you think enables the program to be filled with so much joy? Because it is evident to someone like me who's just watching from afar.
Yeah. I mean, you have your own family at home, and coming here, you create a whole new family. And like you said, we adore each other. We love each other. They're like my sisters, you know? We just build such a strong connection within one another that honestly just comes naturally. I mean, we're in the gym together 24/7. We have conditioning together, the early mornings, the late nights, the in the gyms. And we spend so much time together, and we just adore each other. Oh, my 2 roommates are on the gymnastics team. Like, we never really get a break from each other. We travel every weekend together. We have such a strong connection. And I think it is so important in college gymnastics to have that team chemistry and that team bond. And we have it.
To build on that a little bit, do you think that KJ and the staff do an amazing job of recruiting people who are going to mesh well together and are going to bring that joy to the program? Or is it more so once you all get there, something happens inside the program in terms of how the program is led that enables you to all gel so well? Because, I mean, you use some pretty strong words there to describe, I mean, what sounds like an incredibly cohesive environment. Tell me what you think on that.
Yeah, I think there's definitely strategy behind who they recruit. Again, I'm not a coach, so I don't really know their side of it, but I do know that they work really hard on having us have that team chemistry. We go on team retreats like the first couple of weeks of preseason. We go there for like 3 days and it's team oriented. We'd have all these team activities. We swim. We have this one big house together. We cook together. We team up and make meals. And it's incredible opportunity, especially for the freshmen that are first coming in, because it happens right off of the bat. You know, you're a freshman coming in, you know the team, you've seen them on TV, you know, you've talked to them a couple times, but you don't know them. And I think that's a really important opportunity for the freshmen to show who they are and connect with each other.
All right, everyone, we'll get back to the conversation momentarily. But first, I want to tell you about my free weekly email newsletter, Tarp Pullers. Each week, I share an uplifting and inspirational tarp pulling story that is sure to brighten your day. And I also highlight some of the most powerful ideas I've learned on my journey talking to 200 and counting of the world's top performers. The newsletter is short, concise, and a reader recently told me this. She said it makes her day every time it hits her inbox. Go to everybodypullsthetarp.com/newsletter to sign up today. Addison, speaking of freshman year and getting off to a fast start, you certainly got off to an extraordinary start in your freshman year with the program. First team All-American in the all-around. You became the first Oklahoma freshman since 2012. That's going back pretty far for a great program like Oklahoma. Turned All-America honors in all-around as a freshman. All SEC freshman team, competed in the all-around in 15 of the 17 meets, competed on bars, beam, and floor in every single meet, set career highs. What do you credit most, Addison, with? By the way, I'm just exhausted reading the accolades from your freshman year. But what do you credit most with your success as a freshman?
I think my confidence built a lot freshman year. Again, coming into a brand new program, having a brand new coaching staff, they really put a lot of work into me and trust in me. And I saw that, and I wanted to go out for the team and do what I could do for the team. Growing up, I had all the individual accolades that I built for myself, but now it's not individual anymore. It's all part of the team. So I was kind of going with the flow. I was there where they needed me to be, and I wanted to go out there and do the best routines and the best performances I could do for the team.
Addison, one question I have on just again on that transition to freshman year of college. My understanding is that when you're in elite gymnastics before college, you're competing, like 5-6 times a year? It's not very frequently, correct?
Correct.
And then in college, you're competing in the season every week.
Yes.
Talk about that adjustment.
Yeah, it was a lot harder than I actually thought it was going to be. Like you said, we had 5, maybe 6 meets in a whole year when you were an elite. And then you go from competing every single weekend. It was a hard transition for me, and it really made me prioritize my recovery. The days that we had off, I hunkered down. I did cold tub, Normatec boots. I slept. I really had to take recovery very seriously when it came to that.
Was that something that the more experienced members of the team, like Jordan Bowers and others, would kind of advise you on? Was that like a common theme that hey, this is going to be different?
I knew it going in that we were competing every weekend. I've watched college gymnastics, but I don't think you realize how hard it is until you're actually in the moment. People can't prepare you. They can't tell you exactly what they're going to feel because my body might not feel like that, So it's really something you kind of have to learn and adjust to in the moment.
What about managing the adrenaline and the energy? There's a big difference between kind of getting your adrenaline and getting things pumping 5-6 times a year for competition versus every single week. Talk about that. What about the adrenaline, the emotions, managing that?
Yeah, you get adrenaline just about every meet you go to. And I think a big part of that is your team. You feed off of your team's energy. You feed off of your team's performances. So I think the team, we had a lot of energy throughout the entire season, and you just feed off of that. You feed off the energy from the crowd. There's so many things you can get energy from and get adrenaline from to help you succeed.
What do you think is the biggest takeaway for you from your freshman year that you've taken to this year, whether it's technically or just broadly speaking in terms of, how you think about sport and the craft?
This is a good question. My biggest takeaway. I don't know. Coming into college, I was so excited for college. This is the moment I've been dreaming of forever. And just to be able to be here with the team and gather all the energy and all the friendships and all the memories from the team was just a really special moment from freshman year. And I just want to carry that with me for the next 3 years. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You only have 4 years of college. So just soaking in every single moment of it is something that's really important to me.
Addison, I want to dig into your preparation. So I really want to try and paint the scene for listeners as to what it looks like when you are preparing, when you are training. So let's just take when you're learning a new routine or you're learning a new skill, what does that look like? Take us behind the scenes of the mechanics and what's happening. Because I don't think everybody has a full appreciation for everything that goes into this.
Definitely, you have to start with the basics, obviously, and build up from there. I'm going to take my vault for an example. I learned a new vault freshman year coming in the summer of my freshman year here. And I was doing Yurchenko double full, and I was switching it to a 1.5. And although it looks very similar, it is completely different. I went back to the basics. I started with timers and then went to layouts and then went to fulls and then went into the foam and then added 1 mat and then added 2 mats and then added 3 mats and then went to hard surface. So there's definitely steps to go up because you can't just throw yourself into the skill right away. You don't know what you're doing, how you're doing it, what the outcome's going to be. You have to slowly progress into the skill.
What type of time frame is that all happening over? Is all that progressing over a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months?
I think it depends on the person and depends on what skill you're trying to learn. Some skills you can learn in a couple days. Some takes weeks. Some it takes months. For me, this was probably a weekly vault time frame.
What happens when you feel like things are going well and you're taking steps forward, you're making progress, and then things aren't going well and you have to take a couple steps backwards? What does that look like? How do you manage that?
I always live over the motto, don't trip over something that is behind you. So one rough day in the gym, one bad turn, one bad meet, that doesn't define who you are. Being able to go back into the gym and work on either that's the basics of it, the repetitions of that routine or that skill, just because one mistake happened, that doesn't define who you are and what you are becoming. Take a step back, relax, work hard for what you are, the bigger picture, and yeah.
So what does that look like in practice, though, Addison? Does that look like if something doesn't go your way, you walk out of the gym, you take a deep breath, you say, hey, I'm leaving that here. Tomorrow, we're going to start anew. Or is there a routine, a mindset tool that you use when you kind of restart the next day? What does that look like? How are you in practice putting that truly in the rearview mirror and not letting it define you?
I personally think the hard days are what make you better.
Tell me more.
When I have a bad practice or a bad meet, there's the fuel inside of me that makes me work even harder and makes me even more driven and more determined. And those days are what create who you are as an athlete. Those hard days are so, so important. Those hard meets, whether you're not feeling well or you just didn't do your best, those are what make you the best athlete you can be. And for you to either wipe it from your memory or make it a mission to fix it for the next meet is something that's really important and what creates you as an athlete.
One of the most common through lines, Addison, through so many of the conversations that I have with elite performers in many, many different crafts, sports, entertainment, business, is the idea that you have to find a way to succeed on days that you're not feeling your best, because the reality is many people are rarely at their best, right? We're also rarely at our worst. Countless major league pitchers have told me, they'll say, Andrew, 1 out of every 10 days, I'm going to have lights out stuff. That means whatever I do, it's going to be going exactly where I want it. I'm going to be striking people out. They can't touch it. 1 out of 10 days, I'm not going to be able to get anybody out. They're going to be hitting that ball all over the stadium. And it's those other 8 days that really define your career, because you're not at your best. You're not at your worst. You have to battle. You have to fight through. I think you're describing something similar there as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just being able to have that mindset and have that work and that determination towards your end goal is something important. Always think about your end goal. Who cares really how bad that one practice was? Again, that defines who you are as an athlete, and creating what that bad practice is in the next day really shows who you are as a person and as an athlete.
You know, Addison, it's so interesting as I think about what you've shared, in particular over the last few minutes. This idea that not only are you not afraid of mistakes, but in a way you are running towards the mistakes, because what you have said is that the mistakes, the moments that challenge you, the moments that you get knocked down, those are the moments that ultimately put you on the path to achieving your goals. I mean, that is a remarkable idea.
Yeah, not everybody's perfect. Everybody's going to have bad days. Everybody's going to have great days, like you just said. But being able to balance both of those days is really important.
What do you do when doubt starts to creep in? Like when you're just like, you know what, I've been working at this for so long and it's just not working. I don't know if I'll ever be able to do it, no matter how much I focus on the basics, like you described a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just comes from trusting yourself and having people around you who also trust you and believe in you is really important. Having that support system on people telling you, like, you got this. Like, this is no biggie for you. You can do it. That is something that is so helpful. Just being able to have that little, even if that's your parents or a small group of people or a large team, it's so important to have that support system.
How have you gone about making sure that you've got the right support system over the years? I mean, obviously your parents, we've talked a lot about your parents, and then of course, KJ and the staff at Oklahoma. How intentional have you been about the rest of the support system around you over the years, making sure that the voices that you want getting in are the ones that you're letting in, and the voices that you don't want getting in are the voices that you're not letting in?
Yeah, I think actually the voices you don't want to let in, a perfect example is social media. There is a lot of stuff circulating around social media, and those are the types of things that you don't want to get in. And something for me that has always helped me is like, those people on social media don't do what you do every day. They don't know how hard you work. They don't know how much effort and how much time, how much tears, how much sweat you've put into what you are doing. They're just criticizing one little thing that they just saw on TV for 5 seconds. That's something that has always helped me take the criticism from social media. And for support system,
so you take the social media criticism with a grain of salt, because you just say, they don't know me. They don't know what I put into this. They probably wouldn't say this to my face if they were standing in front of me.
Correct. Quite frankly, they don't really know anything about you. They know what they see on social media, the TV. They don't know anything about you. They don't even probably know your middle name. So taking it with a grain of salt is the best approach to social media.
And then continue on about your support network, building that support network, making sure that it's the right group of people, aside from all the naysayers on social media.
Yeah, supporting people or having the support around you is really important, like I said, and just surrounding yourself with people you want to be surrounded with. Having that support system of people you know will help you be better is something that's really important. And this team is helping me be better. I am helping them be better. We are all helping each other be better. We are seeing everybody work so hard in the gym, and that is helping us be better, leading by example, showing up when it matters, helping somebody out when they need it, things like that.
Living the everybody pulls the tarp mindset, as I like to talk about every single week on this podcast. More specifically, what does it look like when a teammate of yours is lifting you up?
I mean, we all have bad days, like I have been saying, and being able to have that teammate come up to you and either give you words of encouragement or give you a little push if you need it. It really means the world to people. And I don't think people realize that a couple words of encouragement or a couple words that'll light the fire under you help us so much. And we appreciate it a lot. 3 acts of kindness can help for a year's worth of success.
Addison, I could not agree more. I'm telling you, another one of the most common through lines through so many of the conversations that I have is this idea that a little text, a little phone call, telling someone that you believe in them, giving them a pat on the back, a fist pump, telling them that they're on the right track has a profound impact, and an impact that is far greater than we far often estimate or think is possible. And it's a powerful reminder to us all that when you see someone struggling, when you see someone that you believe in, tell them that you believe in them. Tell them that they can do it. I could not agree more with everything that you're sharing there. Addison, as we get ready to wrap up our conversation, one of the things I want to understand, if you think back to kind of the hardest moment of your career, the most challenging moment, and you don't have to tell me what it was, what advice would Addison today give Addison that day?
I'm going to actually tell you what it was, and then I'll explain. So I was supposed to come to Oklahoma in 2023, and I ended up taking a gap year to try for 2024 Olympic trials. And I took the gap year. Everything was going great. I had my very first meet of the season, and I landed a vault a little wonky and hurt my ankle. It swelled up like a balloon. It got all black and blue. This was in February. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Olympic trials is coming up soon. Like, my ankle's freaking massive. And I get a call from the national staff, and they're like, congratulations, you qualified to go to Stuttgart Cup in Germany and represent Team USA. I was like, yay, but my ankle looks like this. So I had 3 weeks to get my ankle to the swelling to go down, it to feel good enough, and for me to get my routines back. And I went in and I had rehab every single day. I saw my physical therapist every single day. I took baby steps every single day up until that moment. Flew to Germany, competed, Team USA won. I did vault and bars at that meet. So vault, it's a very leg event.
Believe it.
Yeah. And came back, ankle still wasn't great. And I thought to myself, I stayed to take my gap year for 2024 Olympic trials, but no matter what happens from this point, this gap year was worth it. I tested my grit. I showed what I am made of, and I went out there and represented Team USA, and we won with a hurt ankle and all. And unfortunately, I didn't end up making 2024 Olympic trials, which was very hard for me because that's what I took my entire gap year for technically. But I did tell myself that it was all worth it. And that was a really hard moment in my life. And it was me saying goodbye to a chapter in my life. I was saying bye to elite gymnastics. It didn't end how I 100% had it planned, but that just shows that not everything happens the way you want it to happen. And like I said before, you can't trip over something that is behind you. Elite gymnastics is behind me, and I moved on to college gymnastics. And now it is such a incredible moment in my life, and I don't even think twice about what happened in 2024. I am moving on. I am moving forward, and college gymnastics has been something I have always dreamed of, and I am just soaking in every single moment of it.
Addison, I am so grateful that you just shared all of that. I can tell that it's making you a little bit emotional to talk about, and it just shows how much this all means to you. And I think it is incredible that you've taken what you've taken from that experience. What I hear is someone that doesn't have any regrets, someone that is not living in the past, someone that appreciates, even though it didn't go as planned, you still have an appreciation for what it gave you and what it taught you. And you're using that to propel you forward in something else that's giving you a lot of joy and passion, which is competing at the collegiate level, competing at a extremely high level. I mean, speaking of a high level, you scored your first perfect 10 of your collegiate career on vault just a couple weeks ago. We didn't even talk about that at all today. I am so struck by your story, Addison. You have wisdom well beyond your years. And I am just so excited to continue watching you compete, watching you chase the dreams that you're chasing today. I'm so grateful that we've gotten to have this conversation and hope that this is just one of many conversations that we get to have in the future. There is no question in my mind, Addison Fatta, that you are a tarp puller, certified member of the Everybody Pulls the Tarp family forever. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with me this week. All right, my friend?
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
We'll talk again soon. Thank you, Addison.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me this week. Be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcast app so you can catch all of our upcoming episodes. And if you are like me and want a world full of tarp pullers, then leave a review to help others find us. You can also follow me on Instagram at AndrewMoses123 and sign up for my email newsletter at everybodypullsthetarp.com/newsletter. I'll share tips and insights to help you achieve maximum success and happiness. Until next time, keep pulling the tarp.